Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.
Astronauts to the moon.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. It's your host, Vikka Draziv, guys. Welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you're watching us from realtruthseekers.com, rts.video. Yes, rts.video is one of our main sponsors for Heliopsychosis podcast and most of our coming productions. So make sure you guys check out realtruthseekers.com, rts.video. So, yep, another awesome topic we have got today. I have got Gene with me. We're just two of us tonight. Hey, Gene, brother, how are you doing?
Hey, Vikka, doing great, bro. The week goes by so fast. I tell you, it's like 3 days since we were here last week. It's so funny how time's sort of an illusion. Yeah, right. Good topic, bro. You know what? I never got real into the map wars going on. I don't think any of them are really too right enough to get into debates about what they're saying for me. You know, I know you have some great videos on the different maps, Vika, on Truth in Plain Sight that I've seen, and Eddie has some really great videos also. Eddie Alencar from Flat Earth Banjo on YouTube, and Flat Earth Japan on Facebook. So that's kind of what I go to when I'm interested in finding out more. And but the AE map is a good one. It's the narrative is sticking to this one, I think, as far as I could tell, right, Vika? With the UN and the WHO using it as their logo. And here's something interesting. When I was looking up this map, it said that it's typically used for to use where to point radio antennas. And then if you go look up radio antennas, and the one in your house is good for 20, 30 miles usually, but an outdoor antenna is good for 60 or 80 miles, which ends up being 2,400 to 4,200 feet of curve involved with that much of mileage. So it's interesting how that works, and it doesn't work really. So yeah, looking forward, bro. Thanks for having me, and welcome everybody.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, brother. Even the air map they use for, you remember a few months back, there was a guy who had an air map that the army used to use, and that also looks very similar to the AE map. So there is, and those routes on the flights and the ways and everything, where their antennas are placed, that's their route, so it's very well adapted to that. very similar to AE, right? So we're not saying that it's the ultimate truth, but it's been used in many different ways and looks like it has accuracy, right?
It's hard to tell, what they're saying about it. From what I gather is it's true up until a certain point where it's moderately distorted, and then when you get halfway out towards the equator, it's 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 more distorted, and then when you go out like towards where Capricorn would be, it's severely distorted. And then they claim that it's equidistant. So I'm not really sure how they're claiming that.
Exactly, that's the problem, right? Because the thing is, the further away from the north you go, distorted it gets, right?
Right. Yeah. So they go from Cancer, the distortion moderations go from light to medium to severe in Capricorn, the equator, and Sagittarius, right? Or Cancer, the equator, and Sagittarius.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tropic
Capricorn.
of
Sorry.
Capricorn and Cancer. Yeah,
Right. Yes. That's sorry about that. Trying to read while I'm talking. So, um, no, so and then also there's a South Pole view of that map also, which is kind of interesting because it distorts everything the other way, I guess. So they don't know how to map the equator or something. I don't really know.
so the thing is, the topic we selected today is the reason is there are groups on Facebook who will ban you, who will block you, who will kick you out of the group if you even speak about AE map or any flat earth map, right? And these,
It's a war.
oh yeah, and they just kick you out of the group, and even it is supposed to be flat earth groups, right? The problem I see, okay, we could have difference of opinion, okay? It's always there to debate. That's what the flat earth research is about, right? To exchange views, ideas, so we all can agree on something, right? But the problem here is you have direct attack from these people. They just literally attack you, even if you speak about Gleason or any other map or a map, or
Right. Right. No,
even if
I
there's
agree
a
though.
and even there's an image in your thumbnail or your post or your wording or your comment, they just attack you. Why? What's the problem, right?
Maybe because it's so close to the narrative, and they're trying to like justify it in what they say. I don't really know. It's kind of guessing. But yeah, no, it's
Some say,
hostile
yeah,
to the map
they
wars.
say some, yeah, some say that it's just a globe made flat. This is what
Right.
they say, right? If they're so sure about it, if these guys who hate the AE map, if you're so sure about it that it's a flat globe, from a globe Earth it was made into a flat, then reverse it, reverse it, and try to put it back on a globe and show us.
Right. That's a good one. Right. Reverse is always a good angle to come from.
Exactly, it's not possible. If it's not possible to put on a globe, how the hell it's going to come from a globe? The people
Right.
need to understand, right? It's nothing complex mathematics science. It's just logic, right? How it's going to come from a globe if it cannot fit on a globe?
Now, and the distortion is kind of curious too. Everything is distorted as soon as you try and put it on a globe or flatten it out. Either way, it's just one doesn't work with the other. That's all there is to it.
Exactly.
Even if you were to let's make believe you cut everything out off a globe and placed it flat. It's still going to be distorted. The placement, the geographical arrangement, it's just not going to work out. You can't. So, but that's makes me wonder if they give us all the numbers, all the feet and the miles. Your car runs to that specification, right? But can they have it tweaked, sorta? Could they be twisting that right in front of us, like flight times and travel times on the ground, trains, and
Oh yeah, totally possible because there are flights also on the north, around the North Pole, supposed to be. There are flights that go from Asia and Middle East, or almost through the North Pole and towards the U.S., Canada, right? The
mm-hmm.
majority, right?
Sure. A lot of them go there.
A lot of them, like, yeah, some are maybe few hundred miles from the supposed north, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have so many flights, but there are no flights from the south, right?
Wow.
If they say that this is supposed to be on the globe, very near distance, it should be a piece of cake, right? To have to go on that flight from Australia to Chile, for example.
Right. Right, and that would be the shortest route if it was a globe. And Antarctica is not that big and that cold. I guess that's what they claim. Dangerous, cold, and too vast. Can't do it. So,
Oh yeah, they can go to minus 50 degree, 100 degrees in the space, but they cannot pass the.
well, you know what? My question would be, how cold does an airplane get at the height that it goes? What is it? 38,000 feet, 40,000 feet? Is that typical commercial airline?
Yeah, 35 to 45.
Right.
Like, it
So
can
what's
depend. It could be like during daytime, it could be minus 50, could go to minus 50
bro? So how cold
degrees.
is
Yeah,
the Antarctic that is so dangerous? Then if
exactly.
the
The
plane can
fuel is
fly,
not gonna. Yeah,
no, if the plane could fly during those conditions across the Atlantic or anywhere else. I'm wondering, well, what makes Antarctic so dangerous and so cold? How cold does it get down there? What are they claiming? I have to look into that. What are they claiming that altitude gets how cold down there? I don't know. But I don't believe it's all true, but I like to understand what they're saying because, then we can combat it better. See, that's why I think it's healthy to talk about these issues about what the maps are. So I don't get into them, but I think it's a healthy discussion. Like you said, we need to come to terms with things and be able to understand it together and agree on it. This must be true when you weed out all the garbage. Are you there? And there's really no way to tell anyway. There are guys that claim they do that race around the Antarctic and not realizing what they're really doing, and they're doing the race. So they're tricking us right in our faces. And that's why I question travel time and speedometers and odometers. Can they be manipulated to fit their narrative? They made all the measurements, so how could they made all the instruments to measure them? So
exactly.
I think they could also manipulate them to trick us too. So
Exactly. All the maps are just a representation of what they of the known lands and the way they could be according to the movements of the celestial bodies and the sun. There are ways to, like, more or less get an idea what a place could be, right? Because here they're saying AE map is a globe projection. The word globe projection doesn't exist. There is no globe, so there is no projection.
That's funny. It's a good point, though.
Exactly. We know very well that the globe don't exist. So how the hell is it gonna come from the globe? The people need to understand that, right? The AE map, the Mercator, the Gleason map, right? The Monte Urbano map, are all very similar. They're not only based on like survey or through aerial view, there's also the celestial movement involved, and which does make sense on an AE map. I don't mean it's an A map, a flat earth map. We're not saying it's the perfect map, but it's for demonstration. It's one of the best.
No, I would agree. The exact shape and size and placement and everything. I don't think we're ever gonna know. Like, we talked about it. 250, 500 miles off of any coast can be islands that we never heard of, never saw. They're not on any maps. All of that can be true.
Exactly. There might be places which are not shown the way they hit the North Pole, or maybe Hyperborea and other part. And there are many mystical land according to many traditional and cultures, right? So all these kind of lands could be also. Why is there so much disinfo also about the map? Because also there is extra lands involved, right? There's so many. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I would have to say that that's a portion of the distortion they offer is because there's things missing.
exactly. So the people need to understand, who hate the AE map, that it doesn't come from a globe, because globe don't exist. Okay, and it's not gonna exist, right? So, and there are various models and maps of flat Earth that have been proposed in many different ones, right?
Oh sure, with things like the concave Earth and what is it? We had
The hollow Earth, yeah,
right, hollow Earth, the square Earth, and
yeah,
you know what? I think they're all kind of worth looking into. Don't leave any stone unturned, guys. Just check out everything. My advice, my experiences. You know.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
But some of them, I mean, for me, some of them were worth putting down pretty quick. I found no interest in them. It just didn't make enough sense for me to put too much energy into it. And I figured, you know what? I just ain't ready for that. Maybe it's down the block for me somewhere, and that's okay. There's plenty of stuff going on that is really catching my attention.
exactly. The thing is, we also have to, like, we know that we all are exchanging information and ideas about different maps and all this stuff, but the problem with these people is, like, as I said earlier, they want to attack, they don't want to debate, they don't want to uh, also they speak about the Enoch stuff, about the square earth. it's it may be an interpretation of a more smaller area of the earth, because it's the same thing. Imagine we have a huge land, and if we are trying to draw a square, a circle, a triangle, and saying this is the shape of the earth, or this is the shape of the map. It's a square, it's round, or it's not round, or the others are saying it's a sphere. So they have confused so many different maps together with Mercator, Gauss Peter, and so many other maps, but none of them works perfectly. None of them.
Right. I tend to personally, I like the older ones. Like Urbano Map's probably one of my favorites. I can't wait to get one of them and really check that out.
Exactly, the Urbano Monte.
Yeah,
And there are some other older maps. You remember we did one show about maps and we were sharing. There were maps that have Antarctica on it with vegetation and everything.
right. Imagine.
And the
You gotta
Piri
wonder.
rice, yeah,
It makes you wonder, like, what made these people think that? You know, because from what we can tell, it's ice now. But who knows where these videos come from?
exactly. So even in today's world, in today's time, we think that the maps are perfect. Okay, maybe with the photography, these are not maps, these are photographs of the places. These are not hand drawn maps. And before that, they were using geomatics. And geomatics is supposed to be like making maps through photography, through different techniques with drones, with airplanes, and create digital models of the maps. So even they are not very perfect, but there's so many different factors that count in when making these maps, right? And most of these companies who make and do this work are not very reliable companies. Also, the general outline is all right, right? The general, right? The rest is just filling it up, right?
There's a lot of empty land out there. But most of them, I'm thinking of like the old Hagstrom maps. Yeah, they'll get you from point A to point B. But is it correct? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah. So this is the thing. These groups, they try to divide, create division and more, with this kind of behavior of attacking flat earthers. Because if you are a flat earth, okay, we don't have any problem with the square earthers or any other earthers, as long as it's flat, we are on the same side, right?
For the most part, and you know what? Even if you're into square Earth,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what that really brings. Anyway, it was a long time ago I looked into that. And I couldn't. Nothing grabbed me really. So more of the flat Earth stuff does, and but I think if you're looking into square Earth, at least you're in the right spot. I don't know what you got that you're holding on to that keeps you on a square Earth, but it's you know I couldn't find anything personally.
We discussed this in some of our podcasts, right? The square earth could be just a small representation of the Mount Meru and the lands around it.
Yeah, and that's the North Pole, Mount Meru, right? That's the Rubus Nigra. That's another problem. We tend to concentrate in the South Pole, but there's just as much attention needed in the North Pole. Because
Exactly.
I don't know if there's any too many flights that go over the North Pole either. They just don't talk about it too much, but plenty of them seem like there would be a shorter route to go straight across.
Exactly. For example, in Flatten the Curve, the aeronautic engineer Brett Freeman was discussing about the 8 inches per mile square and how he showed it on an AE map,
Right. He's
right?
got
Yeah, right.
he's got a great way of describing that and explaining it through in the mathematical way. You know. where you divide the circumference and I don't know how to explain it, but there's a couple different ways to explain the 8 inches per mile square. Brett's got a good way of doing it, a very technical way.
Exactly. It's like he's speaking about on two-dimensional, because it's that 8 inches per square mile is not on a ball, but is on a flat plane with the north in the center. And if you start a point to go towards east, if you want to be on that east, on that line or that equator, you need to go 8 inches per mile, taking the curve on two-dimensional curve, not three-dimensional curve going over a ball. That's the calculation. So if that formula exists, that formula works on an AE map.
I don't know. I'm not sure how to apply that, but I'm sure he's right. I bet you he's right. Just because I'm not sure.
I think it does make sense. It does make sense because the way the magnetic north works and how the compasses work, how the transportation of the aerial transportation, the aeroplanes and everything, how they move and everything,
Mm.
it literally shows that that's how it goes, right? More or less,
Right.
because just flying around in your country is not going to make you grasp the idea, right? So people need to, like, people, if you have really traveled internationally a lot, you see that pattern, you see that, right?
That's what I would think. You need to travel outside smaller areas.
So you really understand how it does make sense that we see how the Gleason map is, right? And the Monte Urbano, and how the sun is where it's supposed to be on that AE map at that time,
Mm.
right? We are not saying it's the most perfect map or it is the right map, but a lot of things make sense on it. Okay. And speaking about the map and the Antarctica and the ice wall, I'm not a big fan of the ice wall. I think there could be a part of it on the south. There could be some ice wall, right? Maybe
Right.
some part or iceberg, but they could land continue, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Um, you know, where's our attention kind of pointed at? Off the southern end of South America, where all the boats go, where you hear about most of the army stations. But what about the other side, like Australia or South Africa or whatever? Some of the closer land places towards it, right? Look at if that's a what's the circle, 20 or 60,000 miles, right? That Captain Cook took 62,000 miles around, and he said he was sailing on that under 2.5 years. He was losing 7 days every day because he was off course. I remember Brett saying.
Right.
So now that's 60,000 miles circumference. There's nowhere on the globe that's anything close to 60,000 miles. So what was he doing? How did he get those numbers? Right? It's definitely
Exactly.
something seriously wrong with that.
The known world where people can literally freely go and come back looks like how is it on the AE map, right? We don't know what is beyond that. Okay. So we cannot make it into a circle or a limit it there, right? That circle is only for a representation of the north we live. We live very near to the north, right?
Right. Right.
Then south. So everything is happening in that central. The importance of that North Pole right there for everything, right? Even for our communications technology, how it works.
100%. You know, it's interesting to really like look at these maps and try and picture what's going on, and it just makes, you know, like I said, there's the specific locations of all the geography is it's pretty close, and I don't think any of them are correct.
Exactly, exactly. But it's very close to what they or what we see in these old and ancient maps till now to what we have, because Google Earth is also a map, but it's a flat map. They just try to paste it on a digital globe, right?
Right.
What is it? We all know that.
Yeah, they're losing traction though. You know they're getting more desperate, and they're definitely losing traction with people, I think. And I like to think like that too, because you can't just keep falling for all this stuff. No matter how accurate their numbers might be or appear, there's just so many holes in the narrative story, guys. Keep looking. We'll find them all together.
Oh yeah, remember in one of our podcasts we also spoke about how the GPS work. It's the
Hmm.
really is the God's positioning system. It's
Right?
not a global positioning system,
I
because
was just talking to a friend how it's a ground positioning system. It's not global.
exactly,
From the
exactly.
ground.
I have a video and also a podcast about it, that how the GPS really works, right? It's because of the magnetic north and these magnetic frequencies that flows all around the North Pole in circles, right? And that's how the compass points to the north. You could be on the any side of the north or any other country, and it's going to point to the north, right? We all know that as flat earthers, right?
Even as a globe earther, you know that. But now you got to think about what you're doing on a globe with a compass in your hand.
Exactly. So that compass is working. So the mobiles are supposed to be digital compass, okay, in a way. And these mobiles and GPS have sensors which reacts to this low frequency vibration that is spreading from the North Pole. Okay, and that's how it locates itself on that flat plane with the north in the center. So there's something to relate that how accurate it could be. This how the continents and everything is laid around the North Pole, and how the luminaries are moving above, and the time zones and everything related to it works very well on the AE map. But again, we're not saying it's the right one or the perfect one. These are just points that we can relate to and see which could be which more or what makes more sense, right?
Right. Right. The flight plans help to show that how these things work better if it is flat, like it's shown, which is cool.
Oh yeah, Eddie's showing that all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the timings and the routes and the lines
Yep.
make sense, right?
Right. And he does nice comparisons side by side, what it looks like on a flat map. Any one of them almost too, because they're so similar. You could kind of put it on any one of them really if you wanted to. But how?
Exactly.
But it also, if you put any one of them next to what they'll call a realistic globe, you'll see how it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work on a globe with these things. So it's the little tricks that you got to find, because some of it might appear to work, but it never does. It never does. Yeah, and you know what? The luminaries are what's going to help us also because they're constant.
Exactly. So if it's working in so many different aspects, so how the hell it's gonna be come from a globe?
Yeah,
It
right.
cannot.
That's exactly right because now we know how distorted either one from the other has to be. Whether you took a flat map and wrapped it around a globe, it's going to be really wrong. And backwards, if you take a globe map and flatten it out, it's wrong. So, right, makes sense. I don't know how they're calling it that though. So that they're showing us how they're distorting things right in their own description of this of the A&E map that they use.
Exactly. And we don't even want to go into flight navigation and all this stuff and how it works and the VAR and everything, the ILS and how it's have those fixed routes on that geography. Yeah, it's crazy. So the best thing is, yeah, people need to speak. People don't need to create division with blocking and not letting people in their group or attacking people all the time just because you just the word comes out of a map or flat earth map or gleason map. So it's for demonstration purpose only. That's the nearest we
Like the
could
globe,
get.
Vikka, right? The globe on the bottom. From what I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen a couple of videos and a ton of pictures where the globes all say not for educational purposes, which is pretty interesting to have that labeled on so many globes.
Exactly. They literally put it into the existence, this fake globe. You know, it took them few hundred years.
Right? A bunch of trickery, a couple of guys who assumed to be in charge, and they ran with it. You know, I'll always say though, I don't think it's just not right. People are not ready for that. You know, we're not the animals that the news portrays us to be. We're unsuspecting and just want to go about our lives. So when they take the kids and put us in school and teach us this nonsense, it's just like that's a foul. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Get out. That's how I feel.
Oh yeah.
You know.
So yep. There's so many other map that we don't. I don't want to even go in the details of these maps, but this is the thing. Like Africa is supposed to be so huge on the globe Earth. That is so many different continents fit in that. The whole of US, Canada, China. So any map you could take, you're gonna find errors.
That's a massive error. Then how do they justify that? How do they explain that away to triple the size of something bigger and then reduce the size by one, 4/5? Like look at Greenland and Iceland, aren't they? For one thing, they're named backwards, which kind of that throws trust issues in the narrative. First of all, when you learn that in third grade, and they blame it on well, they were trying to trick people, so they named them backwards so they would go to the wrong place. Kind of weird.
Exactly. And also there was this pilot who was supposed to make this flight. We didn't hear anything about that flight. What happened to that flight? Remember
Oh,
last year?
from Argentina, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So you were supposed to make a flight, non-stop flight. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that was like a blip in the narrative news. Yeah, it
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah, like NASA, like just announcing things, but after it's not happening.
It's gone. Like my favorites, the helicopter on Mars, and Parker Space Probe flying through the sun. Where's the nothing? You don't hear anything much from them, unless I'm not listening and they are talking about it. But where's the news? Where's this on the news and Channel 7 and breaking news or whatever? What has space travel ever done for humanity anyway? By the way,
Oh yeah, they know everything, right? They know everything billions of miles away.
Mm. Yeah, because of pictures taken, right, and they take the pictures of things 13 billion years ago, and they won't turn it around and take pictures of the Earth or take pictures of the flags on the moon or stuff like that. They won't do anything realistic that people might really enjoy seeing.
Exactly.
Well, some of us would. Yeah, go ahead, enjoy all your fake space pictures all you want, but I want to see pictures of the Earth now. Turn those things around, guys. Point it towards the sun or something. They might. Those pictures of the sun are crazy. There's nothing that matches anybody on the street doing it. No citizen journalism does anything like NASA does. Nothing. All the citizen journalism stuff lines up kind of similar also. Looks similar, acts similar. Then you get, and by the way, there were pre-programmed telescopes out there by these big Fortune 500 companies that, what are they programming Mars in my telescope? Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, they are. So,
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
yeah, yep.
The thing we as flat earthers, like, if somebody is square earther or another earther, we have to understand that we all are flat earther, level earther, okay? Let's call it level, right? Or any other map you believe, but it's supposed to be plain with the north in the center, right? The importance of the north and then everything around it, you know a little bit around it could a map could fit, but this doesn't mean that's the end and that's the map. It could just continue maybe for thousands and thousands of miles. It could continue. So it doesn't matter if you want to call it a square, around, a triangle around that north pole, right? So there is no contradiction with other models. So there is no reason for the people to attack the AE map because it's just a representation around the North Pole, which makes a bit of more sense according to the luminaries and many other things that I mentioned earlier,
Yeah, bro.
right?
Yeah, bro. That's a really, really good point. That it's basically, the land, the geographical distribution is debatable, but the point that it's all coming from a single point in the center is not really debatable.
Exactly, exactly. And it
But
could continue. It could continue. It could have as Sherry Mag is saying, level, stationary, enclosed plane. Yeah, it could be enclosed. Maybe it's very near. Maybe it's very far, right?
and they say that they ran into the firmament 2,000 miles off the coast of Antarctica.
Yeah,
So that
Antarctica.
would
Yeah,
right. So that would put a 2,000-mile wide, 60,000-mile circle around what we think we know right now. As far as any of these maps we're talking about, that much land. Like, what does that do to the amount of land we have here? 2,000 miles wide, 60,000 mile circumference. That's an incredible amount of area. And don't forget that the ice wall, it might not be an entire circle. And if it is, maybe there are pathways that thaw out periodically, and things can happen in between. And I don't know, but I do like that.
Exactly. Exactly. It could be that there is that dome or that barrier, or there it could be that it's just a misinformation, right?
Right. There could be something there, you know? There could be. There's stories about it. We talked about the tunnel boring machine in the 70s that got stuck, and then the ice just closed over it, and then they had like a box full of it, and it just evaporated into nothing. So there's definitely some interesting stories coming out of what that could possibly be. And what are they blowing up? Some of the rockets appear to be hitting something up there. What are they doing?
Exactly. It could be a barrier, it could be a gas, it could be a layer, it could be anything, right?
Right. Yeah, sure. Just like the water that the submarine couldn't penetrate through. There's video of that, right? Where a guy in a
Right.
submarine ran into what looked like a lake in the bottom of the ocean. It's very strange looking, but then that guy died like very soon after that.
Exactly, because there's a water separating the water in the layer, right? There's something that is separating between the same element, right?
Right. And
So the same thing could happen in the air. It could be just air above, but it's another the same element, but there's a barrier.
I don't doubt that. There's so many things that we don't even know we don't know. And these guys who are running the show around here probably know half of that stuff that we're not even thinking about. So yeah, they're giving us this table of elements, but could there be more? Yeah, I would have to think absolutely. And as far as like something like the size of it, I like to think that um, the way they describe space to be so vast and endless that they can't even see the end of it. That's what I would like to think the Earth is, with an infinite amount of different types of life and situations and maybe bubbles and all that kind of idea. I don't want to give it any limitations.
Exactly. That's why it's absurd for us to say that the A map is wrong or any other map is wrong, even being a flat earther. I don't think it doesn't. It doesn't. It's not of that importance because we are trying to create a form on a huge place and limit it and call it that's the shape of the or the real form or the real geography. That's it. I think that's a part of the disinformation and indoctrination. So we really don't know what is exactly happening from outer parts or even some parts, as we spoke, Gene, that on these maps there could be places that is been hidden directly and could be literally places with people, right?
Oh yeah, and maybe even those extraterrestrial people, possibly. I don't see why not. With the way these Hollywood people seem to be, the way they change and they don't even look the same anymore. They duck out for a couple of years, do weird things, and come back. Like, who knows what they're doing? The doppelgangers, or it could be robots. Who knows? But there's a lot of strange stuff going on. And yeah, there's probably more no-fly zones than there are free highways to travel around in the air and in boats and things like that. And besides, if who's got what kind of boat in the public that's going to be able to get to certain, you can only go halfway, then you got to come back because you're going to run out of gas, right? Well,
Exactly.
how far can your boat go? And what do you do after that? And what these guys have, who knows what they're using for energy to travel in every situation. We don't know. We know they're ahead of us by quite some time, and means and methods that they have, and it all trickles out of these same institutions. And whether you look at
Exactly.
Elon Musk, I don't look at Elon Musk as being organic by any means. Neither is Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. They're not organic. I don't think so. Any of them. None of the politicians, none of the big CEOs of these companies or the inventors or whatever. I just don't. Maybe they are. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're organic. Like look at BlackRock now. Everybody says that BlackRock. How did they know in the '80s that about calling the biggest company in the world ever BlackRock? And BlackRock, what? There's the attracted north that all metals are attracted to.
Exactly, the Rupes Nigra, the
Right.
magnetic mountain.
So,
Oh yeah, one of our podcasts was really awesome on that.
oh yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Wow, the roosters are going crazy.
This is great. Do they ever sleep though, Vika? Are they? You know what I mean? Like, don't they usually do that in the morning?
Yeah, normally they should do at 4, but these guys they go crazy at 3 sometimes. But this is the thing. Maybe it's affecting that time. 1 hour change is affecting them.
Bet. You know, they know that we're off. They don't know what's going on, maybe, but they know something's. Just everybody acts different. I bet you they notice that time change in certain ways, like not in reality, just by the reaction to what we're doing. Because in reality, there is no time change.
Exactly, and if the chickens are going like that, so imagine the human beings, what would happen?
Wow. Hey, I just thought of, we're talking about all the maps being similar, interesting, whatever, and try not to argue about them. We'll just figure it out. And most of this is, what we can agree on, I think, are the effects of the maps. The level plane, everything's built on how nothing seems to curve ever anywhere for any reason. Through pictures, in the planes, the horizon just rises with us, and your vanishing point gets further away. And those are the simple things, or like a compass. If you're on a ball, and like I'm in New York, the North Pole would be at like 20 degrees or so down towards my feet when I'm looking. It's not straight ahead. So a magnetic compass, cannot work on a ball. Not from here. Well, I don't know where it would work. It can't work. If it works down here in New York or anywhere north of the equator, anywhere, that's right there alone could be enough for somebody to understand that this is wrong. This is a serious problem here.
Oh yeah, it's about the two axes, right? The horizontal and the vertical, right?
Right.
And it could go for ages. And we have discussed it in most of our cosmologies. The plane, the above and below, right? Going in every direction.
Well, that's what I think. I can't get past that idea anymore right now, at least. That it could be an infinite plane with endless life forms and situations, 3-dimensional. How many dimensions could there be? For all I know, I don't know. 100 dimensions. Don't being like creative and exploring the possibilities.
In most of the cosmologies, brother, we saw in the most of the cosmologies, they all mostly speak about the realms above and realms below. Mostly 7, some have 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if all of them are saying the same thing, right?
Pretty much, in a couple different ways.
Exactly.
The names change. The times they're coming and going in the local given narrative history change, but the stories are almost interchangeable. Yeah, some get a little more detail with how many layers and the characters that play what. Some have more detail. But the similarities, yeah, it makes me wonder, like, how much time in between those peoples were there really? You know, they say hundreds into thousands of years in between. It just makes me wonder, or if those stories are all the same one story. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Oh yeah. If the root information is the same, could be, is the same story told in different ways, right?
Right.
But it's so huge, it's so many possibilities that these are just the few versions we are hearing, right? There could be some truth to it, right? But the real truth of the ones we don't know about and their stories and their, right? So
Right. Like, you know what? Take something like Göbekli Tepe. They just found that place 20 years ago. What's the stories coming out of there now? All these buried cities underneath. So many things underneath our feet that,
exactly, it could be civilizations.
right? And how about underneath that now, too? We really don't know any of this stuff. And, you know, I don't know about any of you guys, but you're really not allowed to just go digging in places anymore. Like I couldn't have a backhoe in my yard digging holes. The town had stopped me in a minute. What are you doing? You're not really supposed to just be digging.
Oh
And
yeah,
they'll get Greta on you and call you all kinds of crazy things because you're ruining the environment. Well, they blow rockets up every other day. Now, how many rockets a week do they shoot around these guys? These guys are just out of control.
exactly. And this is the thing, the other thing was about the compass, the sundial. There are many astronomical stuff that people use, like astrolabe, many things. It all works on the AE map, the Monte Urbano map, the north in the center map, right?
Right, because you need a flat surface to project any of that stuff off of.
Exactly.
Right, so you're measuring a triangle with one end curved. You can't measure it now.
Exactly. And how many other more stuff these ancient and different civilization might be having to observe and create their geography, right? And it all works on the map, similar to Monte Urbano or Gleason
Hmm.
or AE, right?
Right, it's all kind of within.
So all these factors needs to be taken into.
When did the Urbano map come out? Like 1558 or something like that? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, around
So,
14,
think of,
1500s, yeah.
all right. So how did they get that detail without being in the air? I've always wondered that. I'm like, did they have dirigibles back then?
Exactly. Dirigibles that would take few hours to just, right? Yeah, but this crazy, some of the ancient maps we saw in one of our podcasts, they were so detailed. We can't even imagine it was so detailed.
Yeah. And the older they get, the more interesting they are, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think so. They got those strange animals and people and the different lands here and there. No ice in the Antarctica with animals all over the place. That's pretty cool.
exactly. Hey, big shout out to Sherry Mac. Sherry Mac is our administrator from our groups, World Flat Earth Association and Fern, Flat Earth Research Network group, also in Flatten the Curve group. So Sherry, and she says time zones, wind current, tides, vortex, compass. The Earth is like a giant clock, cannot work on a globe and must be a circle like the AE map. Well said. The toroidal field, we know, with the center, right?
Yep. It's like the donut shape, magnetic force.
Exactly. What shape is showing on that plane below, right?
Speaking of magnets, the Earth, the surface of the Earth is negatively charged, and everything else is positively charged. So there's gravity. Works like a magnet. Similar, very similar. Not exactly, but very similar to it. And so if that's a force too, right? I don't know if they recognize that force at all in science, but if they do, then they have that force and gravity. Does that work? Do they work together? I gotta find that out. Do you know, Vika?
No, we know about the diamagnetic properties, right? That
Right.
because of the
Yeah.
tides and how, yeah.
Now, what I'm wondering is does science recognize any of that as being reality? That there is an electrical force pulling something to the ground if you drop it. I'm not
I have no
sure.
idea if they really recognize that, but that's what they are trying to twist it as gravity, as a mass
Right.
falling down.
Right. So what I'm wondering is like if they do recognize that, then that's a positive, right? Then there's a force, there's a negative force attracting the positive force that's what's causing everything on a downward vector. So then if they have that and gravity, how does that work? So there's something else I got to go find out now. There's just questions crossing my mind as we're talking.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing, right? Spirals. Yeah, and there are many logos and many things and symbols from ancients, and even the swastika. It's representing the north. It's representing the Big Dipper and how it moves around the North Pole.
That's
That's the
so.
form of swastika, and it's showing that center, north, and the circle.
That's right, bro. That's showing the four seasons where the Big Dipper is in any of the four seasons, and that's probably one of the oldest symbols put together in history. I bet you.
Exactly. And what is flower of life? What is seed of life? What is the real? Everybody knows the flower of life and the seed of life geometric form, right? That's
Yeah,
how the
well,
luminaries are moving above us. As that flower of life is shown in a circle with the center in between, starting with a very basic form of seed of life and converting it into the flower of life. And the flower of life is supposed to have all the geometric forms that exist. That's why it's so special. The flower of life symbol, and it's literally just the movements, supposed to be the movements above of the celestial bodies, and it's showing you happening on a circle.
you know that they do claim to have some parallax in the stars. Now, I'm not sure if they do or not. But my question is like, which ones are moving? How are they moving? Is there any pattern to it? Why aren't the other ones moving? So it just like it raises so many more questions than answers, and I'd like to look more into that. I only heard that recently, like this week, so I didn't get a chance to really look into that. But that's what I heard they're claiming. Oh, there is parallax. Like, yeah, where? And what's up with the rest of it? And how do you find parallax there? What kind of? How much? Where do is it? Is there any? Is it all expanding in the same way, the same ratio, in the same proper direction? All of these questions, they don't have to have the answer to these.
Exactly. And the whole sky is above us, right? To see how everything is moving in circle with the North Pole above us,
Yeah,
right?
you know what? They even claim that there used to be a different North Pole, and I don't remember ever hearing any. I know, right? I don't remember ever hearing any of the old ancient cosmologists say anything about that. So I question that. They just say anything they want. Come on, they got helicopters on Mars. They'll say anything they want. You know what they did? They just like doubled the whole Big Bang Theory's timeline. Now they're considering it to be 23 billion years old because they don't know. Well, it's not like there's anything to know. You know, they're just throwing stuff in the soup. It's kind of comical, but it's a litmus test, guys. Because if they're just going to get people to cheer this stuff on, that tells them what they're going to be able to get away with next. You know, and they got an assortment of things they'll throw at you.
The
You
people
heard?
need to, yeah, exactly. The people need to see the beauty of the intelligent design that this earth or this place is. The sacred geometry can be seen below and above, and everything that is moving above also. And even if we put the ley lines on a flat map, it will almost convert into a flower of life, right? All these things also can be factored in to see which could be more reliable, right? As we say, we are not saying that's the most perfect one, but there are so many factors we are counting in.
Oh yeah, and some of them are harder to really nail down. But the stars haven't changed in all of recorded history, as far as I know. Didn't they find old paintings that, like some of the first petroglyphs or hieroglyphs in caves in France, and they were depicting Sagittarius, I think, right?
Yeah,
So how's that? What do they claim? How old they claim that is? And these people,
exactly.
what is with that? That doesn't ring. That doesn't raise any flags. It should raise flags. So how all of these people starting civilization up thousands of years ago, what are they doing? Talk about the stars. And people were right. That was their television. Like, no, they had no interest in television or anything like it back then. That they didn't, I don't know what they did for entertainment, but their lives were busy. Those people were just a different kind of people. And and somewhere down the line, those primitive people, between us and them, they have these structures that we can't reproduce some of these old buildings that claimed built 200 years ago. Cannot reproduce them today. And then the older ones, stuff like the big pyramids, they have no clue that, you know, unless it was sound. And sound seems to be one of the only ways that those materials could have been quarried and transported and put in place like that.
Oh yeah, the ancients were very much advanced in many different fields. You know, not only constructions. We don't give them credit. We think we are the very woke and very right, the pinnacle of humanity. It's bullshit. We are the worst part that have
Yeah,
friggin' lived on this planet or Earth,
I know. I hate
right?
to say it, but it's because it's all of us. But you know what? We had so much taken away from us, man. And since, like I said, I'll always say it too, that they did this to kids, and they fouled out for that right there alone, in my opinion. Get them all out of here. I don't have mercy for them. I don't.
Yeah, we are just living here on the wastelands,
Right?
a FEMA camp kind of zone we have of the known Earth.
Sorta, in the geographic locations and the mental locations that we're offered. It's hard to break out of this matrix because we're just hammered with it so hard since day two. It went against all our senses too. When I think back being a kid, all this stuff went against me so much, and a lot of people feel the same way, more than me. All of this stuff was just like, what? No.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And what do kids do? They go, taught to respect the teachers, and you got to pass their tests. We're put in this competition. Yeah, it's all foul to me. Like, game over. Not even funny.
Yeah, and we all are in these zones, like totally manipulated, right?
Yeah, we're on a little tiny speck of dust flying around in an infinite vacuum of nothing. With no creator, nowhere to look forward. Just the better your job, the better you are. The more people will respect you. The nicer your car, the better off you are. I'll never forget one time I was with a boss, like, I don't know, 35 years ago, a long time ago. And he's like, how I gauge how to price things for people? By the car they drive. As soon as I pull up to the house. And I was like, wow, how do you do that? I didn't understand that. I still kind of don't. I guess that's why I never really got anywhere in that construction business on my own, right? I couldn't rip people off. It killed me to do that. Nice guys finish last. No good deed goes unpunished.
Oh yeah. So, yep, we all, yeah, need to try to help if we have difference of opinion, like, instead of saying that's the ultimate truth and the rest of you are all indoctrinated, right? So this is what's been happening on at least Facebook, for definitely it's happening on different platforms too, but this is where I see the most. And I've seen people getting attacked right and left for this. So yeah, there's so many different factors that it shows that it has some accuracy or truth in it. We are not saying it's the ultimate truth, but for reference, for demonstration, it's quite good, right? To have an idea, right? Definitely in the future, maybe we come up with a more accurate map or a model, right? Who knows? Things happen, right?
You never know what's coming up, brother. There's a lot more people getting involved with more not perspectives, but more understanding of things, and more people willing to come out and talk about it, which is really great for us. Because it's the narrative, it's the big story. They got all the news channels and magazines and TV and radio. It's hard to go up against 500 years of the establishment and indoctrination. And then you got to consider, they're saying now, a lot I've hearing it left and right, that there's people out there that don't really have a soul, and they're just NPCs. They're real NPCs, real non-character players, non-playing characters. And I thought that was like interesting at first. Now it just seems to be a little bit more of a reality that some of these people out there just out there walking around to fill in space and like things in your visuals, I guess.
Oh yeah, they say it's almost 85% is non NPCs.
Wow, that's a big number, bro. That's a big. I heard 50% today. I heard a clip today. My wife was playing. It was just like wow, and I keep hearing it. And I've run into a person once or twice where I'm just like, what's up with that person? Like, just one was a cop. I told a cop a joke in a pizzeria once, and he looked at me. It was such a strange look, and I don't know. He laughed at me like he thought it was funny, but just like I don't know, there was just something very off about the guy, and I was like, all right, never mind. Okay, I don't have any more jokes, buddy. Sorry, thank you. Hey, you know what? I don't really talk to those guys too much. That was a really long time ago. I don't engage in conversation with cops too much because their job is to arrest people, not to go out there and make friends and chat. As far as I could tell, so I don't really feel comfortable doing that too much anymore. Like, oh, see you later. Gotta go. You know.
Oh yeah, everything is a part of it, right? Needs to manifest the way it's been written.
Yeah, that's true too. Makes you wonder: is destiny malleable at all? Is it flexible? Can it be? Is there a set destiny, or is it all just now is destiny, and the next now is up for grabs? I don't know.
Oh yeah, here in the group they're speaking about globe card. Yeah, we also don't use that word, not even in our groups, because yeah,
Nah.
we understand that there's a difference of opinion, but you know,
Yeah.
the globers are the one who really get triggered and start insulting. And you could go to my page and see any of my videos in the comment section on Facebook. Truth in Plain Sight, Vikka, Draziv. Some have in thousands, right, comments, and you can see we never insult any globe authors, and how many they only have insults and bullying. That's their way of defending their globe. Okay, and this is for there is documented from all these years on all my video on Facebook, right?
I don't get attacked too much on flat Earth pages, but when I'm on the space pages, I get attacked, and I go back and forth with people, and I won't start the name calling, but sometimes they catch me, and I'll go right back at them, and I'll just start ripping them apart, and I don't feel any better about it, but it's just like, what am I doing here again? Why? I kind of blame myself. Why am I here with these people? They don't want to hear it.
In reality, there is no debate with these people, actually, right?
No, it's really not.
There's no debate.
But it's hard to communicate with them at all at times because I find it that they do. They run right into the name calling. They avoid any answers. They're just, goofing around up there.
When you are not ready, or when you are not, if you don't want to accept something, you are not going to accept, even if it's right in your face, right there, right? Right,
100%.
with everything that's been happening all these years and recently, right, it shows us, right, there are people who just don't want to see it. So it's the same thing with the globe earthers. They don't want to see it,
It's
right?
true.
All they're doing in these debate groups and anti-flat earth groups are sharing meme and stupid things. They're not doing real science. Flat earth is digging in day by day, month by month, year by year. We are getting stronger in our research, in our investigations, in our experiments, in the way of seeing things, in every aspect, in every way. All they're doing is sharing meme and fun and making fun, right? That's their evolution of that globe, right? They're going, how many years is going to continue, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say evolution. You throw that in there because we talk about space, and anything from the narrative, these people will defend it. Anything, any part of it, evolution, Big Bang, space, water curving, the cycles of the luminaries. They're too far away to see any, to measure any parallax. All the stars look the same. That's impossible. That's impossible, guys.
There is no competition with these people. If we'd seen this, imagine in the last 5 years, if you could see from the globe community, there's some real science coming and hitting hard on flat earther, you would say, yeah, there is competition, right? There
Right.
is, yeah, there is debate. Yeah, there's some, it's nothing. It's
No,
nothing, right?
no, there's nothing substantial. There's no evidence, and there's definitely no proof. There's no evidences of the globe. That's the thing you're gonna look for. You're not gonna see the curve. Obviously, it's not there. It's never there. NASA and people still bug out. Wow, all these 12 different countries, 10 or 15 different countries, are they all in on it? I'm like, man, you probably still think voting means anything, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Of
One
course
is
they're in on it.
right. One is saying, they're seeing the ship going over the horizon from the beach. The other is saying the earth is too big to see the curve. It's full of bullshit like this. Endless bullshit.
Right, and when they get caught in that one, there's no further explanation about that. There's nothing. That's where it starts and stops. So yeah, when a ship disappears out of your eyesight, that's probably about 3 miles away. But when you pull it up in a pair of binoculars or a telescope, they don't have anything for that. Why is it there again? You know.
Exactly. There's so many details like these that they don't want to see it. No, let's debate. You want to do science? Let's do it. Let's be, right? Their own science contradicts their pseudoscience, right? They're supposed, because it's all in the end is pseudoscience.
It does, right? Thermodynamics and entropy, the two big problems.
They've just created their fake mathematics formula for the people that nobody wants to go in, and just easy to believe. That's the thing. People even don't want to do a simple addition. Who the hell is going to do a formula and try to figure out what the hell these people are trying to put numbers and letters to this, right? Trying to explain the universe. What bullshit, yeah? The universe is perfect. It's intelligent. It's sacred geometry, right?
It is. It's perfection at its finest, too, right? But the problem is, these weasels down here want to try and destroy the living conditions that we have. They can't destroy the planet, but they can push us out so it's inhospitable. And they make us destroy. Hey, you know what? If sea levels were rising, guys, you think they'd be mortgaging, $10 million, $50 million houses on these incredible beaches if they had a slight inclination that it was going to be destroyed because of sea level rise? They wouldn't really be doing that. Not if they, yeah, you can get storms. Well, a storm, 90% chance your house is going to make the storm. Yeah, we'll throw a new roof on for you. That's good for insurance. Money swap keeps the economy going. But if they were going to destroy mass amounts of shoreline properties, they would never be selling them. They wouldn't let these guys build there. So think about stuff like that.
Yeah, and the artificial islands in Dubai, right? Right at the sea
Yeah,
level.
exactly.
And all those islands, those tropical beaches and island all over, right? They're going to be
Look
wiped
hot.
out. Yeah.
They would never let that stuff happen. Not on a scale that they're talking. Like I said, a little bit here and there, yeah, to make the narrative look good. It keeps things right in perspective.
All right. Here is somebody in the chat called Gene Hess. Who's that? Is it you, Gene?
Me, nah.
Okay, cool.
But hi, whoever it is, thanks for being here, guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the other thing is also we could ask directly, right? At what altitude does the Earth start to curve? Right? They say, okay, you need to go high to see the curve. Okay, we're gonna go more high. Just tell it at what altitude exactly that the Earth starts to curve. Right? At 35,000 feet, we don't see the curve.
No,
Right?
even what's his name? Richard Branson went like 80,000 in Virgin Galactic, right? Claimed to see the curve. Neil deGrasse Tyson says no, he didn't. Then Red Bull Felix Baumgartner did the Red Bull jump at 110,000 and said, "Yeah, I saw the curve." And Neil deGrasse Tyson says, "No, you didn't." So they contradict themselves. I don't know what that's about, really. Um, let's jump right to Neil deGrasse because he's like the godfather of he's like King Clown as far as I can tell over there. What is the guy, the biggest physicist in the world, the most well known for? Why is he on things like Joe Rogan? Right? You want to know why? Because he needs Joe Rogan's audience. That's why. Not because he's saying anything fantastic. He's saying this garbage narrative whose Joe Rogan's audience is going to be like, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
why.
the best part is you could see John's face and the guests when they talk bullshit. We all know that.
Oh man, Joe Rogan called him out on something I saw last week.
Yeah, but
I
this is the
put
thing. We know that Joe Rogan know that it's all bullshit, and how they try to make it up everything, and keep the conversation going with all their bullshit. All right, anything about the space, even that Brian Cock was there.
right. I didn't
All
know
right,
that.
and he was like, "Oh yeah," and you could see in their face, like like they're just making up. Right? It's crazy.
He does.
Yeah.
Him and Chuck Nice got that thing, and they do. They'll just say anything. How, you know, the tides are not what we think. There's a bulge that the Earth twists underneath it, and that's what caused the tides. I'm like, oh God, what are you talking about? This guy's just insane. That now he takes the whole narrative of the tides and just throws some weird twist into it, and then show's over with them two laughing and cracking up with each other. It's kind of pitiful, really, to see someone who's supposed to be the Einstein at the what Einstein either too. What has he done in science but nothing? Has he really? What did he do? He demoted Pluto as a planet. If Pluto's not a planet, how come it's round? Asteroids don't get round because they're not in that gravitational pull to cause them to get round. Isn't that right? So they just contradict themselves constantly. Not that I think anything's a planet flying around anyway, but it's just the nonsense that they say. It'll change tomorrow. You got to be very flexible with these guys.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be a big problem, right? NASA is sending so many rockets and GPS, and the ice is up there. They're just frequently up and down, right? What's the big problem for us, for them to give us an exact altitude where the Earth starts to curve? Shouldn't be a big problem, right? Let's do some science, NASA, right?
No, I really shouldn't. I mean, what? How? Maybe
You
because
know,
they
you,
just. God,
yeah,
man.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering what would it take for them to put a camera on the back of a rocket and really show what's going on behind them.
Exactly, right? If they're saying it should start at one point, it should start curving slowly, right? Or it suddenly just you are there and it suddenly go boom, like and curves itself. It's not
Right. Well,
happening.
that's like Google Earth. Like we said, Vika. They can tell what year a dime is on the ground in a parking lot somewhere, and then you go up 1,000 feet, and so after a certain amount of feet, it turns into a cartoon. So that's like, that's probably what they call Sophia. That plane just running around, scanning everything, filming and taking pictures of everything.
Oh
And
yeah, they're flying everywhere, every part, right?
yeah, they got it pretty well under surveillance as far as they don't care what the woods looks like. There's three people in 10,000 square miles. They don't really care.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Even if it's just a photo with Photoshop trees, would help, right? They want to control. So the concrete jungle, and the cosmopolitan
Right, and
and
the
the
surrounding
metropolitan. Yeah.
suburbs. Yeah. Yeah, and then look at all the empty land, and they say it's overpopulated. That depends who you ask if it's overpopulated, and they could flatten those mountains out and get people living there if they wanted to. It took up until 2 years ago to get a bridge across a really dangerous part of the highway in my part of town where school buses had to cross every day, all the time, and because nobody died is why it took so long. And then they finally got it passed, and I was like, you know what, this is annoying, because if the Army Corps of Engineers found oil over there, they would helicopter a bridge in last week. So this is just political garbage right now, and I don't care who's running what. Nobody's running anything. They tore up so much of my town. They got, what is it, 6 foot drains sitting all over the place for 2 years right now because of politics. And whoever had the contract was related to somebody, because they did part of the work and walked away. So something happened there. It's just a little garbage. Somebody made a fortune on that for nothing. And I can't wait till they figure out what happened, if they even do.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm cool. I sit at a light every once in a while, and I have to look at these things, and it's so annoying. They're enormous. Big cement drain pipes. They're huge. And I'm like, watch, these things are going to sit here longer than the pyramids. Watch, they're going to sit here forever, these things. I'm going to pay people to come see them in 100 years from now. People have to pay to go see them, rather.
Oh yeah, and also like if you go in the outback and in the nature, you really see how less people are there in reality. There's so much of nature, and all these nature have resources also, right? How Divergent Droid is commenting. Oh yeah, the resources are full of it. They are making it look that it's just so limited. Everything is so limited, right? Same as the fuel, the fuel podcast we did last week, right?
Yeah, it's all garbage. It's all scare tactics and nihilistic kind of ways of thinking. You
Oh
know, even
yeah.
when I, even when I was a space fan, um, I was like, all right, well, you know what? God took a bunch of dust in his hand and went poof, and there was the universe, and said, put all of our souls here, and said, all right, when you come back, tell me your story of what you thought you saw down there, kind of, you know what I mean? That was my version of what happened. I never believed in Big Bang the way, and you know what? I thought, if that's what really happened, that's what God did. That's how I thought. I'm like, well, that's what the Creator did. And then the story just really easily fell apart, and that's part of the beauty of it, guys. We talk about maps right now, but there's 100 different angles you can come in at with people and help this narrative fall apart for them. Different politics, religion, whatever. The shape of the place, the effects of the not the lack of effects on a center point of gravity. There's a ton of it, a ton of it. And just look at the state of the world today with these clowns in charge. It's terrible. None of these people, I bet you nobody listening right now would ever have the world in this condition if it was up to them. And where are the philosophers and real scientists running the world? They got these idiots in suits with a lot of money. It seems with all it is. So it's pretty obvious what's going on at this point. And if you don't see that, I think you're just hiding. Whether or not you talk about it is a different thing. But if you're just going to deny it, you're hiding, and you're creating a worse problem. Because that's
Oh
what got
yeah.
us there in the first place. When I remember as a kid, my grandparents said, "Don't talk about politics." That was the thing. No politics, no religion at the table, kind of thing. From what I understand, a lot of people heard that, and that's the way it was. But that's a wrong attitude, not to talk about it.
Oh yeah. They don't want people to be on the right path, right? I think flat earth helps, because if you really see flat earth, with every false flag, with every red flag, with every conspiracy, with everything, we are one step ahead even before they are, right? So why? Because it's helping us to open up in other subjects also, and be more analytic, be more precise in in decoding what the hell these people are do, right? In controlling the masses, everything they've been doing even lately, right? So, and I was seeing this pattern, and I think that's because it changes you a lot in many aspects. Flat Earth, right? The level Earth, or the Creator, the one who we don't believe in the Big Bang. The word Big Bang in itself is quite, you know, the Big Bang, and everything was created, right?
Yeah, by ancient gravity. That's crazy. And they'll even say we really don't know what gravity is. We can describe it and this and that, blah blah blah. I'm gonna look more into that. I want to see if they use incoherent electrostatic acceleration at all. If they give that any credit, how could they not though? If they, how can they not? I want to look into that.
For sure, if that's the reality, they're using it definitely, and they know about it. They're using creating science won't work, right? If they want to create something and they don't consider it if it exists, right?
Right, right. And you know what? Like 4 years ago, when you looked up electrostatic acceleration, um, it had a different definition than it does now. Now they throw it right under the bus with flat earthers. So they changed their outlook on that recently, within the past few years. But that's their flexible story that you kind of gotta roll with the tides, because they change it in a heartbeat with their new discoveries and their ifs and what ifs.
Exactly. The people are not getting tired of the promises by all these politicians and elites and NASA and all these people, right? The people can't see through the to the deception, right? It's just people are hanging on.
Yeah, I don't understand. I want the truth. I don't want some crummy watered down version of something that don't even exist.
Exactly. So yeah, getting back to the maps, the Google Earth is quite accurate for now for using, right? Because of the photography, because of the aerial photography. This is just high altitude plane photography. There's nothing by satellite nor by ISS, nothing.
No, that's
It's
from
just
that
a
Air Force
program.
system.
Ex- exactly. So just high altitude balloon footage that is accurate up to some altitude, and then it converts into a CGI ball. So it doesn't matter if we think if the A or the square or the any other shape that people are defending could be of the geography that we live. We can only speak about the geography of the known world or the known continents. Right? We have many different hypotheses of what could exist beyond, right?
Yeah, well, I take some of what they're saying into consideration. Not like it's truth, but where is the truth in what they're talking about? Kind of how I look at it. Like the way I say, I think the land could be an infinite plane where they really can't describe an end to it. It doesn't really have an end. I think that's a nicer possibility, better possibility than outer space. That's for sure.
Exactly. Because we cannot be very ego driven and say we are the only race that exists, right? There could be many that exist and we don't have idea about. Many different cultures speaks about it. We think that there could be extra lands, the extra civilization, right? With
I
other kind of technology, right? So how can we just argue that we are this is the real world and this is the shape and this is the correct one and that is not the correct one? We can't, because we are just speaking about a very limited area, very limited area.
very
Which
limited area.
yeah, that you can fly in 12 or 20 or 24 hours max.
Right? And circle the whole place, come back to where you started. And that's
Yeah,
everything.
and this is our world and we are like here.
Imagine that though. Bro, in that dimension, think of all the different types of life that we do know here. Thousands and thousands of trees and animals, different types of animals, aquatic animals, semi-aquatic. And oh man, it's just so endless, it seems. But then if you take what we do know and expand it out to, a portion of what we're talking about, life becomes like insane. The number is just crazy of possibilities, you know? 2,000 miles past Antarctica, with so it's 2,000 miles worth of land in a 60,000 mile circle. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of potential.
Exactly, and what kind of minerals, plant life, animal life, human life,
Physics
right?
can be, yeah, all the
Technology
sciences.
wise, all right?
Yeah, bro. Everything applicable here. All the physics that do work there could be totally different. Everything that is workable, improvable, repeatable, it doesn't have to exist the same way in a different world. And it could be, what if, just because we have this type of pressure and gravity and atmosphere and conditions down here doesn't mean it's the same right next door. I don't think so.
Exactly.
Just the same as, there are deserts that don't get any snow, and there's places that don't get any hardly any warm weather. That's the big difference down here. So imagine the differences in the world just over there. It could be things we can't even imagine. You're living for hundreds of years, not eating the food that we eat like once a month. You can just breathe in something like the smell of a strawberry could keep you going for 6 months.
Oh yeah, or only the sunlight, right? Or only water, or only fruits. Yeah, there are many different ways. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. endless possibilities, right? What this Earth could be and what could its shape it be, right? In a way, we know it's more or less it's level. That's we know horizontal, yeah. Possibility of vertical, right?
Right.
Below, right? But we cannot just limit it with, you know. So AE
No.
or not AE, as long as it is flat and level, it's all the same, right? We are speaking about some parts. There's a lot more that we could know or we could know in the future, but there are no differences. It doesn't come from a globe because it doesn't fit on a globe, right? And many factors were there, which shows that there it could be one of the accurate way, and not just now, the maps from now, even the ancient ones, and even the symbols, even the representation, everything signals that it could be possibly have accuracies because it functions on many aspects, right? In transportation, in many different things, in navigation, technology, right?
Right. And those are all very controlled situations.
Exactly. Ain't no pseudoscience, right? So yeah, a map, if you like it or not, it's part of the flat earth map. As we say, we are not saying it's the most right one, is the accurate one, or it's the ultimate one, but it has a lot of potentials for being closer to the truth, right? Of the world we know of, right? Because that's what we could really speak. The rest we can just speculate, right? So the people need to really clear things and unite in a way so that we grow more strong and not get divided because we have a difference of opinion. And before we create that division and difference of opinion, attack, try to analyze different points, different factors that does work or doesn't work, right? And the important point here is, in the end, it's level for you, for us. So there is no need to attack people, right? Share your views, share your ideas, and listen to others' idea too, right? Because we are here to learn everybody, right? We're not saying what we say is the ultimate truth, right?
Nah, bro, I don't really think we claim that a lot. Maybe there are certain things like water's level. I'll claim that. Show me where the water's curving. I'll claim a couple things, but not really too many. I'd rather leave the option open. There's a lot of maybes, more maybes than definites. So some definite things like I don't see any effects of the curve at all anywhere. There's a lot of things missing. Right? So we're not going to really see the curve because there is none.
Oh, yeah.
But the effects of the curve that we should be able to see don't exist. And also there are effects of the luminaries that don't exist. The shadows on the moon, the phases of the moon, the eclipses. That's not the result of two balls being casting a shadow on another one. There's nothing close to what that really looks like in your kitchen, which is kind of cool because these simple things you could do in your house with at a party. and you can't duplicate what the moon is doing. And if that's a ball and this is a ball, a sphere on a sphere, then how come it doesn't work on a small scale? Because it's not what we're looking at, is really what it is.
Exactly. As the moon phases, they're supposed to say that it's reflecting the sun, the moon. That's why you see how the moon phases, right?
Right.
But how is it happening on the full moon if the moon is supposed to be on the other side of the earth, right? How is the reflection making it a full moon, right?
It doesn't make much sense. It just doesn't. Moon is very mysterious. A lot of fun. But those are the things that are going to teach us the truth. The things that we can do and we can, experiment with. And if it keeps happening over and over, then there's your truth. And if you can't reproduce it, then it might not be true. It's probably not either.
Like the same way on the Mercator or the Gleason map, you can see how the time zone could be divided into the 24-hour because of the sun and its movement, which shows it it coincides with the time zones, different time zones, right? The sun is doing its job on that AE map, which works and it makes sense, right? So the same way it's happening for the moon also, okay? And the moon in itself is playing that part, right? Going around in the circle,
It
right?
does, and some of what they say it kind of makes sense, but not in reality when you break it down a little more. Can't make sense. The phases of the moon doesn't make sense according to the heliocentric model.
Exactly, but on the flat Earth map, on the AE map or a circular map, it does make sense. Same like how the sun is making the sense of its 15 degree according for the way it moves in the 24 hours and doing that time zone.
Right.
The same way the moon is working the same way and doing its phases on that circular map, which looks like an AE map.
Yeah, that's just a little geographically different. It's almost the same thing.
Oh yeah, we could just continue more relating to that, but yeah, more or less so that generally the people have idea that, like, that we need to look it in before rejecting it or saying, like, as I said, it's for demonstration and reference purpose. It's really good and it works with a lot of things, so I don't think it's have any problem. Maybe in the future, as I said, there could be better ones, right? But for right now, it's quite good, right? And for the part of the world we know, it works good. We don't know exactly what is up beyond that, right? So, yep, there you have it. And yep, Gene, we're gonna have last thoughts, brother. Um, we're gonna be saying goodbye.
All right. Yeah, I think they're all kind of sort of within a reasonable amount of acceptable. And I don't think we're ever going to get a straight answer out of the narrative of what they are anyway. So I don't have a big problem. Like I said, I never really got into the map wars. It wasn't like, you guys can fight over that. Go right ahead. Um, yeah, I don't think we're going to get the true shape and distance and size of everything. And I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me at all. You know, it didn't bother me before. What's maybe if there's a big difference that I'm missing, hopefully I'll figure it out soon. But as far as I can tell right now, it doesn't bother me. My favorite map is the Urbano map. I think right now I wanna get a nice big version of that map and check it out, and 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 really try and figure out what they were trying to tell us with that one. But no, the map they give us now, it works in the street. You can, it's like a local map where you can drive across the country or into different places. That works. So maybe that's where the confusion comes into, because that works. This must work also. But I find any of them to be pretty acceptable. What I'm not sure what difference it's going to make to me right now to understand that something should be 50 feet over a little more this way or not. It's all a lie. It's all coming from the narrative kind of thing anyway, and they twist up what they give out. So I'd rather try to find out the effects that we can show that are missing, exaggerated, or just missing, right? Just not there. So that's what I kind of like to do. But yeah, that was a good show, Vika. A lot of fun. Very interesting, brother. Always is, man. And thanks to everybody for hanging out. Good to see you all. And we'll see you next time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. It's a positioning system. We can see it happening, right? I, as I said, I look into all of the maps. I'm not against any map, and I don't. This is the thing, right? A works with many things, and the people should look into it better than just spreading the the disinformation in a way, because it doesn't come from a globe. Okay, we all know that, because the globe doesn't exist. That's the thing. So yep, our Monte Urbano is also one of my favorite, and also that looks very close to an AE map, because the AE map is comes from the Monte Urbano and many others before. There is Perry Rice and many other maps which shows the same continent. They don't show in the same formation around to the North Pole, but most of the continents are the same of the known world. And some maps are much more ancient. The globe was bought in, the globe was phased in through a few hundred years, So really, we don't need to divide ourselves, because there is a lot of division with many different ways, with gatekeeping a lot of information and truth, and keeping people more entertained than really educating people. And there could be so much other stuff could be done then, So anyway, so that the people have an idea about, there is so many other maps we could go in detail about, but it's like we are just speaking about the known places, what we know about, right? And there is no reason for us to uh, separate it and saying we are right or you are not right, because we are speaking about a very limited area, right? And in that limited area, there are A's makes more sense than many other stuff that is out there, right? So just for the people to ponder and connect the dots with the ultimate truth. That's not the idea here, but it's all open. So we what we think it could be. So awesome, guys. Thank you everybody for being here. Right. Thanks, brother Gene.
Thanks, bro. Good night, everybody.
Oh yeah, and surprises are coming. So make sure you guys are stick around for the next coming weeks. Big surprises are coming. Yeah,
All right.
definitely, Gene.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Yeah. I'm
All
curious.
right. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. Make sure you subscribe and share the show and invite more friends. Amazing stuff is coming quite soon. Yeah. So this is Vikka Draziv signing out, guys. Make sure you see us next week on another episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone. Bye,
Good night,
Gene. Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.